Welcome back to another episode. Alright guys, we're going to cut this one short. Subscribe and click the bell to keep informed of new videos being uploaded to the We Deem channel. Reason I cut that short is because I just want to dive into the Razer Kishi versus the Gamesir X2. Both great mobile controllers in their own way. Both very good controllers for Xbox Game Pass, mobile and Android mobile gaming, but which is the better controller? Both the Gamesir X2 and the Razer Kishi have unique designs. The Gamesir X2 went with a Nintendo Switch design with the analog sticks in an Xbox layout, left analog stick at the top and right analog stick at the bottom. The Nintendo Switch style separate button D-pad at the bottom, capture button located at the bottom right of the left side of the controller, and Gamesir button at the top where the select minus button is on the Joy-Con. At the top of the left side of the controller, we have the L1 and L2 button, which I think are really good, but we will go into that a little later. Now on the right side of the Gamesir X2, you have the R1 and R2 at the top, which once again, yes, amazing. A start button, X, Y, B, A in a Nintendo Switch layout, right analog stick at the bottom, and a home button on the bottom left. Now to the Razer Kishi. This is an updated version of the controller designed specifically for Xbox Game Pass Mobile, and it shows Razer went with a more unique design which they believe represents Xbox gaming, and for the most part it does. The Kishi has rounded corners which widen at the bottom of the controller on both sides. It has L1 and L2 buttons at the top, which I'm not a big fan of. The left analog stick is at the very top of the left side, which kind of forces you to hold the controller in an awkward position, unlike the Xbox One controller, which pushes your hands out farther towards the bottom. And yes, I know they tried to emulate this a little, but they could only do so much with the size of the controller. There is an option button towards the center, a D-pad, which, why? Why did they go with this design and not the traditional D-pad? This D-pad reminds me of the one on that Game Boy Color clone I did a while back, and I was not fond of that one because it kind of feels weird under the fingers when pressed. At the bottom of the left side towards the center, you will find the Xbox X button, and it brings up friends and the multiplayer menu in-game on Xbox Game Pass Mobile. On the right side, you have the R1, R2, 4 action buttons in the Xbox style layout, right analog stick at the bottom right side of the controller, but not as close to the edge as the left stick, and you have a menu button. The build quality of both the Razer Kishi and the Gamesir X2 is pretty good in my opinion. Both controllers are lightweight, but the plastic feels pretty sturdy. The Gamesir X2 has a slide-out extended tray design with raised pads on the back, which Mad Little Pixels would call the butt cheeks, which makes it comfortable to hold and gives extra grip. The Razer Kishi has 2 separate Joy-Con style controllers connected by a strap, which I kind of like better only because my phone sits flat in the controller, where in the Gamesir X2 my phone sits at a slant because of the pivoting USB port. I think Gamesir did a really good job designing the triggers and bumper buttons, which are built into the top corner of the controller, which makes them comfortable to press even with your fingers forced into bending over the corner of the controller. Now the Gamesir triggers feel like they are micro switches, whereas the Razer Kishi feels like a really dull spring, and after a while of playing fighting games, I felt a really uncomfortable pain in the back side of my right hand. Now even though I'm not fond of the feeling of the Razer Kishi triggers, they are analog, so there are different levels of pressure which can help in certain games on Xbox Game Pass Mobile, whereas even though I like the Gamesir micro switch trigger feel, this is just an on and off switch, so that should be taken into consideration when choosing between the two controllers. Now the buttons on the Gamesir X2 are on the smaller side compared to the Razer Kishi, which went with the full-size controller experience, although not quite the size of the Xbox One's action buttons, and feel like they travel more than the Gamesir buttons. The X2's buttons feel pretty similar to the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con buttons with good feedback, and I think the membranes are a short throw, which feel like they raise a few seconds faster than the Kishi. Now, as for the D-pad, well, I don't like the overall design of either controllers, but I would have to say personally, I like the Gamesir's Switch-style D-pad because the Razer Kishi's feels a tad bit mushy. Now here is something I think the Razer Kishi does way better than the Gamesir X2, and that is the full-size analog sticks, which is fairly similar to the Xbox One controller with a concave design, which paired with the size of the analog toppers, it seems to conform to your thumbs. Now the analog sticks on the Gamesir X2 feel pretty good, but they are on the smaller side, especially the stick toppers, and they are flat, which I felt like my thumbs would slip a lot. Clicking down on the analog sticks, I felt the Razer Kishi was a better experience, feeling more responsive with a more substantial click, if that makes any sense. But even with that said, the Gamesir's was pretty decent as well. Before we get into gameplay experience, I want to touch on the USB ports on both controllers. The Gamesir X2 has a pivoting USB-C, which could help in preventing damage to your phone, but how long will that hold up is the question. And as I have stated before, I don't like that my phone is at a slant. The Razer Kishi has a stationary USB Type-C port, and due to the design cradling your phone, it is limited to what phones you can place in because of width. Now the rubber spacers do remove adding a little more space, but then you risk scratching your phone on the plastic. Both mobile gaming controllers have an external USB port for charging. The Razer Kishi is a simple pass-through, so it will charge any phone with a Type-C port, but the Gamesir 2 seems to not be compatible with every phone I have heard on the interwebs. I guess due to the chipset inside, but it does charge my LG G8X Think. So if you have charged your phone with the Gamesir X2, let the We Deem community know below which phone you have. We are not going to go too far into this because they both function very well for Xbox Game Pass Mobile and as an Android gamepad. As I said before, while playing fighting games such as Killer Instincts during your butt mashing session, the middle of the back of my hand did experience some discomfort over a short period of time, and it seemed to happen with the Gamesir X2 a little as well. The analog sticks just feel much better on the Razer Kishi during gameplay, and on the Gamesir X2 I felt like my thumbs were a little cramped and bent a little more, which felt weird. Gamesir X2 has the Nintendo Switch button layout, so the A and B buttons are switched, but in the game the A still functions as A and the B still functions as B. I did find myself going for B when I wanted to press A, which I find a little weird because I play my Nintendo Switch more than my Xbox One, but I think it was because I was on Xbox Game Pass Mobile. If you feel like this will no doubtably be a habit of yours as well, I would stick with the Razer Kishi. While playing the platformer Dead Cell, I kind of was digging the Razer Kishi. Both controllers caused some discomfort, but after giving the Razer Kishi a longer go on this game, it felt a little more comfortable compared to the Gamesir X2 for a platformer. Both controllers were very responsive, and I didn't see any noticeable difference in my performance or experience in the game. Well, we got to this point, and hopefully you have a better understanding of what you can expect from both mobile controllers, and this video has made it easier to make a decision on which one you are going to pick up. Going into this, I thought I was leaning towards the Gamesir X2, taking this one, but after giving the Razer Kishi a longer go, I personally like the Razer Kishi, especially for the Xbox Game Pass Mobile, and I think it is more travel friendly since it folds up to 5 inches long, whereas the Gamesir is about 7 inches in length. The Razer Kishi is like having a full-size Xbox One controller for mobile, and the analog sticks are really good. However, I think some people might prefer the Gamesir X2's layout if they are accustomed to the Nintendo Switch, and that's okay too. If you have any questions about either of the controllers, please leave those down below. And if you feel I left any important information out of the video, please let the We Deem community know below. If you found value in this video, please hit that like button. On the other hand, if this didn't help you make a decision on which controller to pick up, you can always hit that thumbs down and let me know below how I can better serve my audience. Don't forget to share the video amongst friends as well as the rest of your social media. And as always, don't forget to let me spend my money so you don't waste yours by hitting that subscribe button. Last thing I want to point out before we end this video, and that's there is a cheaper alternative to both controllers, and that's the Moga from Power A mobile gaming clip. You connect this to your Xbox One controller, connect your Xbox One controller to Android via Bluetooth, and then you're ready to play Xbox Game Pass with your Xbox One controller.